Okay, I'm just gonna get right into it. Normally, I like hype myself up. I'm like, alrighty, we're gonna do a video. Nah, we're just getting right into it. Um, our distributor has absolutely rolled us here at the local area for store Descent into Gaming, which is me and Xavier. And I was not able to procure my hero decks before the only LCO will be able to attend this season, the Counterspell one up in Jacksonville. So I'm gonna play Reiner for Saturday, but there was a chance that I played a fun deck for Sunday if I did well on Saturday, and it was gonna be Shigaraki, but unfortunately I do not have access to it, and I don't want to borrow like the entire deck from somebody. So I'm not gonna be able to play this deck, but I've tested it a lot. I've probably played like 40 or 50 matches or so. I probably no, like 30 or 40. I'd say like 30 or 40. 50 is too many. 30 or 40 with this deck. And I played some on Void. I started on Void because Bachelor Arrives is broken, and I played it and I was like, dang, this feels terrible. My deck like doesn't do anything. And I think if I revisited Void, I could probably make a much better deck than what I started with. Now, what I know about this character, but so I pivoted to Evil. I started out with a Void list and an Evil list because the main thing about Void is that it doesn't get Evil aura, and I really wanted to play with this card because it reads crazy. One speed in all your moves. Randy -1 speed if they're playing the good symbol, and then like clear prog and get momentum. I will say this deck doesn't use momentum super well. There aren't any like I've thought about Bladed Uppercut and Patrick Baby, but I've settled on really my momentum outs are just 2 copies of Heat Tackle, um, which is like fine. Um, so you're mostly using this to clear prog, which is still crazy good. Uh, but this character is so unique and quite complex. You read it, and I think the bottom part sticks out to you as like the more retainable sentence on the card. After you partial block attack, it gets breaker one. You're like, okay, cool. You're partial blocking. And you read the top enhance, and you're like, you remove up to 2 cards. So basically, I think my first read through, and this is kind of like tangent, when when the when Ace Maneuvers announced the My Hero Spotlight webcam event that he did, I was like, I'm gonna play Momo. And when I first read Momo, I read the card and I'm like, okay, so you can build an asset from your card pool, or you can use capture net and you put one in and you build down. And those were like literally the only ways I understood the text on the character. And every time I played a game, I understood more stuff where I'm like, wait, hold on, there's another enhance, and you just pick up like a block every turn. That's pretty cool. Wait a minute, this can pick up an attack. You pick up an attack on their turn, you like sculpt your hand, and you can use quick create to do some crazy shenanigans and whatever. Kind of the same vibe here, where I play a game and I'm like, 2 cards. Okay, so I can remove my block, and then I block with it. And then if I partial block, it gets breaker one and it deals damage and I draw a new card. And so the first thing you need to know about Shigaraki is he partial blocks forever. If you have like some number of incubating, multi-format, unironically multi-format all-star incubating, this card is crazy good. This card is ridiculous. And what may be at least very good in Standard and Hero 2, and I think it's just so expensive is the thing, but I think quite playable in Retro is Optimal Form. If you have like a combination of 2 to 3 of these against a deck that's not giving speed, you can partial block all of their moves just easily without really thinking about it. Um, the and that's the first thing, and then you go over to your turn, and you're like, all right, so I'm gonna play an attack. I'll remove for speed. I play my next one. I remove for speed, and so on. And as it's hard to explain, but like as I've been playing this deck, you learn some of the strange like on defense. If you're sitting there with like 2 high block or 2 low blocks against your opponent with mostly highs, you can use the enhance, ditch both those low blocks, and then take the like unblocked attack, draw 2 new cards. If you have a mid block and a low block against their deck with mostly highs, you can pitch both of them, half block, breaker 1, and draw 2 new cards. Like, you don't have to just like cycle one away. You can pitch an extra card, which when you read it and you talk about it, like, it's obvious. But I feel like playing this deck, it just, and then like on your turn, you can like the amount of there was a game where I went like play a move, remove Demon Lord's Blast, play it on a 5. I go like Shigaraki enhance, remove remove a optimal form and a galactic monster. So it looks like I'm setting up to build out on 5s. And it gets a speed, and I have like a need for structure. I give it another speed. And my opponent goes like block on half on an 8 or whatever, and taps their whole board and takes half. And I go like, all right, draw 2 cards, ignore the cards I removed, play like move on a like Trigrav on a 6, final charge on an 8, kill you. The fact that it removes face up is an avenue for so many mind games. It's just this guy is so cool. I can't stress enough. This guy is so freaking cool. Notable problems I have run into. Very bad Reiner matchup. He kind of falls into this like dirtily mid-range, like I'm gonna like chip away at your resources with the breaker blocks and like playing chomps and stuff and like 80% powers. And I'm gonna like chip away at your resources and then kind of like poke you down and set up for a string that kills you from like 20-ish when you overextend to kill me, and I'm able to like hit you with like a mean breaker 3 off chomp or breaker 5 off concealing power that ends your turn. And Reiner is really good at saying decks doing that suck ass by flipping all your speed hate, flipping all your draw, and making like this guy struggles into big damage moves anyways, because like the main way that you generate card advantage is like if your character, he's not generating stats, so the thing he has to do is generate advantage in other ways, which the main way he's doing is card advantage on defense, because you can guarantee draw extra cards. So when Reiner is saying all my moves are for 5 on half minimum, because like you can't really interact with him flipping over at all, even like post sideboard, it's really hard. You have to draw like exactly artificial power, and then even then sometimes it's like, well, you did rip the 2 mid blocks for my 2 monsterverse machines, or I have 2 of the action, whatever. It's he just like the deck is the Reiner deck is built in a way that really messes with this deck's game plan. Another thing, and this is kind of a thing that's true of all of the My Hero decks, they're really bad at killing decks that don't want to die. Decks like Rodan or even the new Deku to an extent, where it's like if a deck is built to like block first and kill you second, it's gonna be really hard to kill people. Like it's gonna be rough. You're really gonna want, and I truly wish I didn't have to put, and I honestly, like, I think if I was taking to this deck to an event, I would not put 4 artificial power on my sideboard. I would say I'm dodging the Reiner matchup and I'm putting 4 without a vision. Like, just something that is like deadlock, make my moves. Like, in a perfect world, we would get Godzilla vs. Biollante and or Strike, but we don't have access to those, or like Inspired Design or whatever. So in my sideboard, we're probably like 4 without a vision and 3 true 100s. Just as like big wall breaker moves that are really difficult for these control decks to get over. This deck probably has a terrible, nigh unwinnable Mothra matchup. It is like the king of eating aggro and like other fair mid-range decks. I don't think and I've said this about the My Hero decks too. I think post-rotation, we're going to have to take a huge look at these guys again. I think these guys have very strong words for a standard format that is healed from like the year of Godzilla Challengers and AOT 1 and 2. And So I'm not gonna do like a full in-depth card by card. There's a lot of cards in here that are just like it's in here because it's good. But like Space Terror, both my deck doesn't give damage and it's the only good zero diff, and we want to have a good build turn because our deck is a lot of five diffs. Like we have good four diffs, but we have a good chunk of five diffs. Let's see, Incubating, Battle for Dominance, and Optimal Form are all just like speed hate and good blocking cards. Noteworthy card, Attitude Selector. You go Shigaraki Enhance, you remove a card, and then you respond, draw a new card. It's just card advantage that, like, especially against the decks that are good at blocking, being able to, like, force extra cards into your hand, because one of the main things that I've found when playing this deck is there are moments where your opponent is, like, pretty vulnerable, and you just can't push that second attack. Because sometimes what you'll end up doing is go like move, they block it, and they're like super low on resources, and your next move will connect, but you don't have another move. So you're just kind of sitting there like, man, I sure wish I had another move right now. So Attitude Selector, you get extra cards, because like even if you need to draw extra cards, sometimes you can just go like pitch 2 to Shigaraki. Boy, I hope I draw an attack. Playing 2 of this card, Spiteful Intentions. It's just commit -2 speed. You could play Juggling Groceries in this slot. I am playing this because Queen is a good symbol attack. And that one's broken into everywhere right now. But if you want to play Juggling Groceries, I think that's very fair. But I think this deck builds out pretty well. So Juggling Groceries secret text might not, or like bonus text might not come up as often as you'd hope it would. And the other option would be like Tense Standoff, but I wanted low blocks and I wanted something repeatable. I'm playing 2 Pressure by All for One. The things this doesn't hit are Heat Tackle, Gigantification Swing, 80% Power, and Combination Blast, which is like a lot, but you do need extra damage in this deck. There's going to be plenty of times where you're sitting there with like you can play 4 moves, but they have 30 health and like a yellow Roman cancel, and you're sitting there like, man, I can't count that high. In the similar vein, Galactic Monster is both you remove from Shigaraki and it's +1 card, and it's a low block and it commits for damage. Need for Destruction is crazy in this guy. You want your moves to hit to draw more cards. You want your moves to hit to kill them. This helps with all of that. Just gives your move flat 1 speed for free. They don't print things like this too often anymore. And then 4x Optimal Form. For those of you that have not played with Optimal Form yet, I think if you're putting it in your deck, you want 4 copies. It is way stronger early. Like, the earlier in the game that you get this card online, the stronger it is. Being able to go, like, on turns 2 and 3, this pretty much says first form, tap, draw a card. Past that, most of the time it says first form, tap, they sack 1. Which is way worse. Way worse. Because by the time they're sacking 1, they have a lot of foundations that it's just a face down they don't give a shit about, or they actively want to sack to rebuild with Team Hero or whatever. So often, like I 4x just because it's obviously gets crazy in multiples. It's speed hate, they can't tap down, they can't stun out. It's and the form is way better early than it is late. Other cards I want to talk about, like Trigrav is always a 4 mid 7. I think any deck that can turn this on face should probably be playing 4, if not 3. It's just like such a good card. King Ghidorah Unleashed, you might be like, well, you remove for cost on face, but I remove for cost to play it. I can already do that. So I'm playing 2 copies. It's a high block you can tutor with Incubating. I think if you wanted to go up to 3, I wouldn't be like surprised, but I'd be interested what you cut for it, because it is just a vanilla 4/4. It isn't super effective at killing them, which is something you want to do eventually. And then for 80% power, this card has felt like it was the best attack in the deck, and then I read more of the cards from the My Hero deck, and this is now the second best attack in the deck. Deal with problem. One thing about this deck is that, like, if your opponent, you can, like, normally sit on 10 foundations pretty easy, and, like, the one Frightening Call in this deck is mostly there as a sack outlet, and less so as, like a board breaker the way it normally works in, like how it did in Porco or whatever, like in aggro decks. But if your opponent, like, if your opponent, like, is alive and you draw your turn and you draw like 5 foundations and you're at 10, you should build. You should build out. In a game state where you're pushing to kill them, you will draw a lot of cards, and you can always just play more moves. But this deck has a really hard time to like the good deadlocks. Like a Godzilla versus Biolante makes your life so hard. So this being able to target snipe those, target snipe analyticals for your concealing powers or your other good breaker blocks, so on and so forth. This card is quite good. And then also just being like on turn 3 onwards, like a 7 mid 7 base, that's pretty like hard to deal with for a 5 diff. It's also notably a 2 mid breaker 1 block, so you partial with it in breaker 2. Like that's pretty good. Um, but the best attack in the deck is this card, Demon Lord's Blast. You read this card, you just like look at the numbers on this card, and you're like, all right, 2 high, deflect 2, 5 diff, 4 low, 6. That sucks. And you read it again, and you're like, this is a 4 diff, 4 low, 9 in our deck that gives speed and needs to kill people. Also, notably, momentum hate, which is like pretty lacking on these symbols. It is just this card is super ignorant for like the standard it wants to be in, which is I think like next year's standard. I've already said it's big, it hurts, it eats their momentum in your deck that wants to partial block a lot. This is like the perfect Shigaraki card. It is so good. It is so good. This card is crazy. Now you might be looking at like, well, you want to breaker them a lot. I feel like Gigantification Swing, a breaker that beats Analytical, is like a shoo-in. And I started at 4 Gigantification Swing. I got the other 2 in the sideboard for stuff like, for meta considerations, it's basically just Pony. But any like air aggro deck will do, like Air Rodan, or any like aggro decks in general, obviously, because you block mids with it and you breaker 3 them, so on. But this is just a vanilla 4 mid 5, and effectively 6 mid 5-ish, which is like fine but not good. Like really kind of below rate for your deck that already struggles to kill people. So I ended up moving 2 to the side, and I put in 2 copies of this card, Combination Blast. When I was playing the Reiner matchup, I really wanted a way to aggro them down. I felt like that was the only way I would ever really end up ahead in that matchup. And notably, I've played like 7 or 8 matches of this deck into Reiner in multiple like iterations. I have come close to winning a game, but have never won a game. But often what I started with was Combination Blast in the sideboard. And I would side out like 3 cards that weren't attacks for 3 attacks. Originally I was on 2378. This is 2478 right now. And I would side in some more attacks, and I would say, I'm just going to draw a bunch of orange and kill him. Because there were games I played where it was like, you know, I can, maybe if I get lucky, I can poke them down early and get them to like 13 when they flip. But then I go to my turn and I draw like 2 attacks and I just can't break through the rest like that, get chip away at that last 13 health. So I just want to put as many attacks in my deck to be able to get that off. And I played with this Combination Glass card, and I'm like, it's a 4 diff 5 low 6 Frenzy. Like, say you go like 80% power, they block it. Demon Lord's Blast, they block it. This thing on a 6, that is a 7 low 8 with speed from Shigaraki. It's like an 8 low 8 for 4. That's really good. That's so like this frenzy ability is so good. They need to put it on more cards because it's so cool and it's so good. It's just like a really good stats for cost. I wouldn't play multiples of it, like any more than 2, I think, just because if they're not blocking, it's just a 5 low 6, which is like fine, but it's 2 mid block, which a little hurts a little bit. And B, it's like there are more effective like utility moves you can play, like, you know, like the one of Erwin's Final Charge. I feel like this is mandatory. Honestly, if you're on Symbol and you're not playing one of this, you are losing percentage points, I think. This card will win you games because people will not play around it. Nobody's like, people might be worried about like an Ice Sword or an Armor of the Wolf. People will not play around Erwin's Final Charge. This card is just a sack your whole board, like 10 mid 13 plus stats on face. It is quite crazy. Yeah, it just this card will steal you games for sure because people are not gonna play around it. And Heat Tackle, Tension Move, which this tension ability is kind of our only momentum out in the deck. Just a good tension move. I in a perfect world, I would get to play more tension moves. Like I would get to put Standing Kick in every deck. Truly, I love that card a lot. Or Bloodsucking Universe obviously is a broken one. Other cards of note. Uh, on Evil, you get to play Team Doctor and Aegis Deletus, which are both crazy good assets. And it's part of the reason for the ratios in this deck. Like I'm 24 to 78, is I want to be able to put all these assets in my deck, but still have foundations to build. I think if you wanted to cut this down to like 72, 70, yeah, I would understand. 2 copies of Chomp. If you wanted to go up on this or play more in the sideboard, I understand. This is a breaker 2 block. Like, I typically, when I put Chomp in decks, like I know Kevin Roberg is a big Chomp fan, and I put this card in decks, and I'm like, and it's a breaker 2 block, and it's just like, it can be very awkward to put into your card pool, you know? Like, if your turn consists of Chomp, build out, that's pretty good. If your turn consists of like move, Chomp, but you checked a 3 anywhere in there, then your build out can be a little scary. And I've just never really felt it. But for some reason, in this deck, the combination of like sniping their pieces that are good against you, and obviously parceling with it in Breaker 3, I think in general, going from Breaker 2 to Breaker 3 is that step where it's like, okay, this is real serious business now. We've graduated from Breaker 2, all right, well, I'll build on a 3, check a 5, -2 is 3, to you get Breaker 3, and they look at their hand and they're like, man, if I play this foundation on a 3 and I check a 3, I have to tap 3 foundations. Like it gets the Breaker 3 is like the point of where it becomes real scary to deal with in my experience. And if Breaker 3 is crazy, wouldn't you believe it that Breaker 5 is absolutely ridiculous? This I need you to understand, when Shigaraki got revealed, it took everything in my power not for me to stop testing for Vegas and just start thinking about this deck, even though we hadn't seen like any of the cards, because I thought this guy was so cool. And then at MomoCon, we got to see Concealing Power. And this is a +3 mid block that the top response is crazy. We're going to get to that. The bottom response, after you block with this card, your rival sex check to play a card gets -2. If you played a card from anywhere in your hand this turn, it gets -4 instead. Nothing about failing it doesn't end the combat phase. This is a you just breaker for them. If you partial with it, it's breaker 5. Like, that is such a huge number. The amount of times I have, like, the amount of games that you will win off of your opponent perhaps correctly surmising that they should play through the breaker 5, and then they tap 6 foundations, and you get to sit there and go, ooh, good luck blocking all my moves next turn, because you can't pass anymore. Like, oh man, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. And then, people complain about what I will call, as the community dubs it, air slop. You have your Queen of the Monsters, your Hunter's Ally, your Team Hero. If they Hunter's Ally in a Genghis Frog, or a Mondo Gecko, or a Team Hero, or they Team Hero in a Bachelor Arrives, you respond and just send it to Uber Hell. It just goes away forever. I played this deck against Pony, and I honestly was expecting it to do poorly. But the way that this deck plays into Pony is so advantageous. It's so funny. Your opponent goes like Hunter's Ally in Frog. Because notably, Pony gives 2 speed sometimes if they're like flushed for counters, which they aren't all the time. If your opponent, if you have like 2 optimal forms or an optimal form and an incubating, and your opponent just goes like Hunter's Ally, build in Frog, and you just go, get that shit out of here, dude. Get that shit out of here, dude. You're on a 3, get that shit out of here, dude. I ain't messing with that. Because like obviously they analytical this, and you never get to breaker 5 them. But like the combination of gigantification swings and all your half blocks having breaker 1, and then notably the most important thing is they really never get to stick a Frog. So if so they basically have to count to 66 before you count to 22, and that is so doable for this deck. Like in a quote unquote fair UniVersus world where we're just playing moves and blocking, this deck will outrace like anybody. Now, notably, giving any amount of stats like cheats that equation, and this deck has to work a lot harder. But there's plenty of decks that are like perfectly solid where you can just kind of go, I will half block everything, tax your resources like crazy, and just poke you down over 3 turns. Um, and that's so freaking cool. I can't stress enough, playing with this deck and playing a lot with this deck and kind of learning all the different things that top enhance lets you do. It's so fun. It's so cool. Being able to go like play this high move or whatever, or like yeah like play this heat tackle, and they partial it, and you draw a card, and you're sitting there like, I'm gonna play this violent animus shot, and I'm gonna remove 2 cards just for fun, and you draw 2 new cards, and you can you can generate so much advantage with the reads. You can like I've played matches where like you condition your opponent to be like, all right, I'm gonna remove my concealing power and then block with it. But like you can also just remove a card, block with it. They play another move. You can just raw block with concealing power from hand. You just do that shit. As long as you've played another card from anywhere else, it still gets that breaker 4. It's not this card. It's any card from anywhere else, and it's so cool. It's so cool. I will gush about this deck so much. Um, my overall like competitive read on this guy right now, I think he's quite bad. I think he's quite bad into the meta. Like I think the decks that people are worried about is like Pony, Reiner, Rodan, and if you don't have good matchups into 2 of those, you probably shouldn't show up. Now, notably, the Pony matchup, from my experience of like 5 or 6 matches, was like actually 100-0, not like literally 100-0, but like super good, just so good. However, the Rodan and Reiner matchups are quite bad. I have won games against Rodan. I have not won a game against Reiner. I can't remember off the top of my head if I've won a match against Rodan. It sounds doable. Just kind of thinking about it, it sounds very doable, but very rough. Decks that are giving a large amount of plus speed, also a little annoying for this guy. You really got to draw your speed hate pieces to be able to a well-timed Breaker 5 beats those decks just as easily. But, like Rodan with a free plus speed on all his moves is quite difficult to deal with. Let's see. I think that's about what I have to say. Um, I if you and let me say this. This is by no means a solved list. I this guy is quite complex and has a lot of stuff like moving parts. The main takeaways for me, if you want to go out and build your own Shigaraki deck, Demon Lord's Blast is probably the best attack you can put in this deck, which is the main reason I would not even really consider playing the Death Symbol, because obviously the Death Symbol gets good stuff. You like Battle Aura and stuff, but I think this card is just, it's so strong. Like you can absolutely own the Lows Aren't Real Gamers with this card. Also notably ranged for Pressured by All for One. And the other thing is Tri-Gravity Beam is on all 3 symbols. I would just play 4. It's a 4-diff 4 mid 7 that also rips a card out of their hand. Has Deadlock, Stun 3. Evil Symbol right now doesn't have the greatest Deadlock. It's kind of just Without a Vision and like True 100 Asterisk. So Deadlock, Stun 3 is a great thing to do. I would also want to consider fitting in some number of patchwork babies or bladed uppercuts. I don't know over what. My inclination is over gigantification swing, but that card is still quite solid. But it may be that we need to kill our darlings and take out the breaker 2 block for a card that does stuff. I should try that. I should try that in a couple games. See how much I miss it. Because notably, high block for mid block. If you look at my list, we're oh, huh. All right, yeah, I'll try that out. Anyways, uh, but yeah, and if you've played this guy and you have thoughts, let me know. I would love either in the discords or in the comments of this video that I will read but may not respond to because I forget. Um, uh, please yap with about me about Shigaraki. This guy is so freaking cool, dude. This is maybe I think this is the first time since playing this game where characters come out and I'd be like, oh man, that's really cool. And I've actually stuck with it. Like, there's certainly been like when Biolante got revealed, or I'm trying to think about other characters that I read and I'm like, oh man, this guy's pretty cool. Oh, like Bridget, when that character got revealed, I was like, this is pretty freaking sweet. But I play like 10 to 20 matches and I'm like, all right, I got like a general vibe and I kind of move on. This guy, like, he's really cool. He's really cool. I like him a lot. So yeah, if you have any Shigaraki thoughts, like I know, like the most interesting thing about this character for me, well, not like one of the interesting things about this character for me is that like every time I've like talked with somebody about this deck and they've been like, well, here's where I'm at. It's like quite different, and it's so interesting. This guy gets a lot of options because like there's very few things that he explicitly tells you to do. He wants to block, he wants to partial block, and he wants to remove stuff and play from removed. So the things that jump out at you are basically like Tri-Gravity Beam, the stuff like Demon Lord's Blast and Combination Blast from the decks that play from removed well, and Galactic Monster. But everything else is like, like even in my Void list, I wasn't playing Supersonic Flight. This deck, I'm not playing Godzilla vs. Gigan, which are both like the remove big bongs. It's so cool. He's so cool. My parting thought is, if I was on UVS Games, I would have given this guy the all symbol. He deserves it. He would parallel the Deku, the new Deku, and would also have 4 symbols, and he would get access to Fateful Decision, which he deserves. So much so he deserves to have access to Fateful Decision, and I'm very sad that they didn't give it to him. Yeah, that's my thought. This has been my Shigaraki deck, and if you're not sure what to play for your LC, and you want to play a deck that's like kind of bad into the meta, but is so much fun and really like makes your brain work hard, play this guy. He's so freaking cool. I like him a lot. But yeah, if you want to talk about Shigaraki or anything, at me in the discords at JetJaguar, hashtag love wins or some variation of that. I guess I'll also put this out there. If you are going to Dallas and I've interacted with you like at all, and I know that you're a chill person and you need to borrow stuff for retro, hit me up. Hit up my line and I will see what I can do. I'm playing Akuma. I would like to be in Top Cuts and not play retro, but my retro deck of choice will be Akuma. So if it's in that deck, I will not be able to loan it out. But anything else is fair game. People complain or talk about how retro is inaccessible. I own a lot of retro cards, man. I would love to get more people to play retro, especially now that it's not at a conflicting time with Hero 2. So yeah, if you're like, oh man, I want to play this deck, but I don't own like Airground Smashes or some champ card, like I don't know, like a Matter of Heads or Tails. Hit me up. Hit up my line. But yeah, thank you for watching this far. This has been my Tomura Shigaraki Yap session. God, this deck is so cool. He's so cool. He's so cool. Yeah.